Saral Japani, Japanese learning made easy. Konnichiwa minasan. Hey friends, how are you? Welcome to Saral Japani YouTube channel. This is a place where we talk about Japan and Japanese. And this is the series called Elementary Japanese Crash Course for JLPT N5 N4. Today we are at lecture 14 of this series, and as you know, we are following the popular Japanese textbook for beginners entitled Elementary Japanese Volume 1 by Professor Yoko Hasegawa. We have completed three lessons, the first three lessons, and today we are going to start the fourth lesson from that book, which is entitled as Weekend Plans. So lesson 4, Weekend Plans, and today will be the part 1 of that lesson, in which we are going to introduce the mass form of verbs. We are going to talk about particles o and they, and two beautifiers o and go. So let's begin today's lecture, lecture 14 of elementary Japanese. This is the front page of the book by Professor Yoko Hasegawa, and this is the content of lesson 4, weekend plans. What are you doing this weekend? So as we saw in the previous three lessons, that each chapter has a dialogue in the beginning, then its usage and grammar are described. So like the previous lessons, we will start with the grammar. We won't go into the conversation because you will not understand unless and until we are done with the grammar portion. So we will start with the grammar from section 4a today, and let's see how much we can cover. And once we are done with all this grammar, we will go back to the conversation, and then we will do some exercises, some new kanjis, and review the vocabulary. So let's begin with grammar. So grammar, we have all these items, all these food on our plate that we need to consume, but slowly and slowly we will consume. But again, this is a crash course, so we cannot be that slow as well. And if you find, this is just for your information, if you find this course too fast, and if you have time, then I would recommend you to go through the other playlist of our channel, which is Japanese lessons for beginners. So there we have explained each and every topic in a very detailed manner so that a layman can understand. But this, since this is a crash course, so this is going to be little fast and based on this book. So some of you might feel it too fast. Anyways, let's start with the grammar. So first we will start with the verb conjugation pre-mass form. So verb conjugation pre-mass form. So you can see here mass, and what is this written? This is, as you can very clearly understand, this is katakana. Fomu, fomu, that means form, mass form, pre-mass form. The verb form that appears before mas, for example, tabe. So you have heard about tabemas, right? Tabemas means I eat. So anything which is written before the mas is called the pre-mas form. So tabemas, so here tabe in tabemas is the pre-mas form. And the pre-mas form combined with mas, for example, tabemas is called the mas form in this textbook. So in this textbook, mas form, this term has been used whenever such concepts have been explained. So this is just some kind of disclaimer that Professor Hasegawa has put here. The mass form is used in polite speech. So when we use mass form, we use it in polite speech, or you can say formal speech, as opposed to plain speech, which we will learn in which will be learned in lesson 6. So there is polite speech and there is then informal speech as well. So how the verb form will change in the informal speech, that will be dealt with in lesson 6. So we should not be bothered about that. For now, we only know mas. For example, arimas, imas, irashaimas, tabemas, and other things. So for the time being, the mass form will be used to indicate the present states. as they have mentioned here, imas, arimas, irashaimas, because these are the three verbs that we have learned in our last lesson. And this can be used also for future or habitual activities also. Mass form can be used. So it can be used for the present tense, future tense, or some habitual activities. That means which keep happening in general. So let's take some examples. For the present form, as you can see here, the question is, where is Ishikawa sensei now? Ishikawa sensei wa ima doko ni irashaimasu ka? So Irashai Sensei is the subject here. So it will always be, or you can say it's the topic here. So it will always be followed by wa particle. So this is the wa from that. Ima means now. So this is a word for now, right now. So Ishikawa Sensei wa ima doko ni means where. Where is he now? Doko ni irashaimasu ka? So imaska is also possible, but since it is sensei, so with some extra politeness or respect, we are writing here irashaimasu ka instead of imaska. Otherwise, doko ni imaska is also correct. The answer is Ishikawa sensei is in her office now. So Ishikawa sensei wa ima ofisu ni irashaimasu. So this you can understand. So that means this mass form, this is how the verb irashai is written like. So if you make it little informal, for example, if it is not sensei, if it is your friend, where is your friend? If we say, right, tomodachi, dokuni, then we should be able to write imaska, dokuni imaska. Tomodachi wa ima dokuni imaska. That means where is your friend right now? That is one thing. And as it has been mentioned here, as opposed to plain speech, which will be learned in lesson 6. So how this irashaimasu will change into something else for informal speech, and how imas will change, how arimas will change. So those things we will learn in lesson 6. Next is future. Shumatsu. Shumatsu means this weekend. That means this is something in that is going to happen in future. Shumatsu nani o shimasu ka? Shimas, you as you might know, shimas means it's a verb which means to do something, to do. To do is shimas. That means shumatsu nani o shimasu ka means what are you going to do this weekend? What will you do this weekend? So probably on Fridays we generally ask our colleagues or friends that what are your future weekend plans, right? So this is nothing but that, weekend plans. And as the name of the lesson goes, weekend plans, so it's obvious that these kind of questions will be present in our discussion. Shumatsu nani o shimasu ka? The answer is Shumatsu Chicago e ikimasu. Chicago, Chicago e ikimasu. Now, this particle we have not yet learned. A is used for representing, like if you are going somewhere, to represent the direction of your travel. So Chicago e ikimasu. Again, Chicago ni ikimasu is also okay. So that we will see probably in the next in our next lecture. We will discuss about this a particle and ni particle and the usage of both when it turns to when it comes to expressing a motion verb like ikimasu. That means going, coming, these are all motion verbs. So shumatsu nani o shimasu ka? Shumatsu Chicago e ikimasu. I will go to Chicago this weekend. So again the mass form here. Then we have some habitual things like, do you read newspapers in your room? So it's not talking about today. It is not, he's not talking about tomorrow. He's talking in general. That is, do you have the habit of reading newspapers? So that is habitual. So it's written here, reo de shinbun o yomimasu ka? That means, do you read newspapers in your dorm? So dormitory is called reo de. So this is a particle. So we will study this. We will learn this in today's video itself. So just have patience for some more time. We will come to this. So, reo de shinbun o nomimasu, shinbun o yomimasu ka? Do you read newspapers in your dorm? The answer is ie. Toshokan de shinbun o yomimasu. I read newspapers in the library. No, I read newspapers in the library. Toshokan is library. So Toshokan de. So now you have seen that de has appeared both after dorm, ryo and after library. That means it is used as a particle to represent that something happens at some place. So this at is represented using this de. So where the event is happening, to express that you have to use this de particle. So we will come to that later in today's video. So reo de shinbun o yomimasu ka? Ie, toshokan de shinbun o yomimasu. So now next topic is 4b. So that was 4a, in which we just introduced the mass form. So just some kind of introduction. So as we move along, as we go ahead in our course, more and more things will keep coming. So just be patient. So you might be having many questions, many doubts, but hold your horse for now. So next is object marker O. So you know this alphabet, this character in hiragana. This is actually wo, but it is pronounced as o. So why this is so? So this is to ease the pronunciation. So as I had mentioned earlier also, there are several sounds which are not pronounced the way they are written. This is to make the language sound sweeter. So if you always keep telling wo, 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 it will not uh, sound good, and also it will be difficult for you to pronounce. So they have simplified it to o, although it is wo. Verbs like tabemas, nomimas, yomimas require two entities. So now we are going to explain why this object marker O is required. So subject marker, what is subject marker or what is topic marker? Topic marker is va, we know. Subject marker can be va or ga. If subject and topic coincides, then va is also possible after subject. Otherwise, there will be ga after the subject, but with exceptions. So that is subject and topic, where we use va and ga particles. But with object of a sentence, we use a object, we use an object marker which is o. So verbs like tabemas, nomimas, yomimas require two entities, the subject and the direct object. This type of verb is called transitive verb. So in lesson 10 we are going to have that discussion, but for now, just as I mentioned, the subject is marked by va or ga and the direct object by o, pronounced as o. So if you look at these examples, watashi wa, so this is the subject marker. Watashi is I, the subject marker. Kohi, kohi means coffee. Kohi o nomimasu. That means how will you connect the object with the verb? So that is done by the object marker O. So this is subject, this is subject marker, this is object, this is object marker, and this is the rest of the predicate or the verb in particular. So between the object and the verb, there will be an O particle, and this is called object marker. Watashi wa kohi o nomimasu. That means I drink coffee or I will drink coffee. Similarly, watashi wa shinbun o yomimasu. I read newspapers or I will read newspaper. So here also shinbun is the object, which is newspaper, and it is connected to the verb reading. I read using this o particle. Watashi wa o sushi o tabemasu. Watashi wa o sushi o tabemasu. Sushi, you already know, the famous Japanese cuisine, and why this O has been put here we will see in today's video itself in a later section. So just wait for that, just have patience, we will come to the explanation of why this O. So watashi wa o sushi o tabemasu. Then Mira-san, that is Miller, Mr. Miller. Mira-san wa terebi o mimasu. Terebi means television and mimas means to watch. So Miller's son watches TV. Mira-san wa terebi o mimasu. Watashi wa, this is Kora. Kora means cola, like Coca-Cola and all. So Kora. Watashi wa Kora wa nomimasen. So this is very, very important now. Watashi wa Kora wa nomimasen. I don't drink cola. So now see, in negative sentences, there is no o particle. In negative sentences, it is always va is used. So there are two vas, one after the subject, which is the subject marker, and then in case of negative sentences, after the object also there will be va only. There will not be o, and also there will not be ga here. So there it can be ga here depending on the context, but here before negative verb there will never be a ga as well. So very, very important. Watashi wa kora wa nomimasen. Watashi wa zashi wa yomimasen. I don't read magazines, or I will not read magazine. So I hope this is clear, the usage of o particle and when o particle is not to be used. So like ni ga arimasu, for example, tsukue no ue ni hon ga arimasu, which we have learnt earlier. Tsukue no ue ni hon ga arimasu. That means on the table there is a book, versus tsukue no ue ni hon wa arimasen. So here we will not use ga. When the verb is negative, we will use wa. So exactly the same way, o becomes va in negative statements. So which we just saw in the previous slide. So this is just an analogy that tsukue no ue ni hon ga arimasu and tsukue no ue ni hon wa arimasen. Similarly, uh, watashi wa kora o nomimasu and watashi wa kora wa nomimasen. When nan or nani ka, nanika, this we have learned in the previous lecture. When nanika, which means something, or nanimo, that is anything in a negative clause, that means nothing when we want to represent something or nothing, then the and when this appears as the direct object, then o is not used. That means, for example, if we say nanika nomimasu ka, so here nanika is something or nanimo is nothing. So after that you will not use o particle. You will not use o particle before the verb, because these are not specific objects. Although this is being treated as object in this sentence, these work as the object, but not direct these are not actually objects. These are like something else, right? Something or nothing. So these are not any specific object. So that's why o particle will not be used. So that's why they have written nanika nomimaska is correct. Nanika o nomimaska is incorrect. So the meaning is, will you drink something, or would you like something to drink? Nanika nomimaska. That means, will you drink something? Now in the answer, ie nanimo nomimasen. Nanimo nomimasen is correct. And your ie nanimo o nomimasen is incorrect. So here for nanimo, with nanimo also you need not use o particle. This is incorrect. So you must drop this to o when the object is like this. When it's nanika, nanimo, for all these things, you need not add the o particle. Next, we come to the third section, beautifiers, o and go. So when we use o, so we just saw o sushi, right? O sushi, this the example, and I said that I will come to this. So this is the time now. O sushi. O in o sushi is categorized as a prefix because it appears before a word. This use of o is slightly different from o in onamae. So you might recall we had said onamae wa nan desu ka? That means what is your name, please? So Since Japanese language and Japanese culture is very polite, so if you are asking someone's name or someone's profession, then you have to show extra respect and you have to add an honorific prefix. So namae becomes onamae. So in the case of onamae, O indicates the speaker's respect to the person for whom onamae is used. So you use namae without O for yourself. So if you want to tell your name, then you will say watashi no namae wa. You will not say watashi no onamae wa, right? This will not use. So but if you are asking someone else's name, then you must use O. So onamae wa nan desu ka and watashi no namae wa sujoi desu, say it like that. So basically we use namae without o for ourselves. But in the case of o sushi, it's nothing to be, it's a different thing, right? It's not respect because sushi is not a person. It's not a human being. So in case of o sushi, o beautifies sushi. It's not the aspect of respect, it's the aspect of beautification. So it beautifies sushi, indicating its cultural significance. So there are two things. One is respect for a person, and the other one is value for something culturally significant. So unlike onamae, you can use o for your own sushi as well. For example, watashi no o sushi. Watashi no o sushi. That is my sushi. Certain nouns are commonly beautified with O. For example, okane, which is money, because money is a valuable thing, and okane is used for gold also. Then okome. Okome means uncooked rice. Kome is the word for rice, uncooked rice, but people use okome because again, rice is a very, very, very valuable product. And ocha, tea. Again, Japanese tea is world famous, so they have to value this product. So cha becomes ocha. The words sushi, kane, kome, and cha can be used without o, but if you do so, your speech conveys that you do not value these entities much, and which the Japanese people may not like. So you have to be very careful while conversing that you should use the appropriate honorific prefix before the relevant words. Another common prefix with the same function is go. So we discussed about go senmon. If you remember, go senmon wa nan desu ka? That means what is your specialization, please? Go senmon. So it it's we see it again with gohang, right? The cooked rice or the meal, cooked rice or meal, we use gohang. So unlike kome, hang by itself without go is not used. So okome is okay, kome is okay. But when it comes to the gohang, we must write go. We cannot say hang. Gohang, hang doesn't have any meaning. So gohang you have to use. Here again, go is slightly different from that in go senmon. So for your own measure, you need to use senmon only. Like watashi no senmon wa so and so. But you can use gohang for your own meal. Watashi no gohang is okay. O is generally used with native Japanese words and go with loan words from Chinese. So this is the main difference. Senmon word comes from the Chinese, so go senmon. And namae is Japanese word, so it is onamae. O and go are not used with loan words that are borrowed from European languages. That means if you are writing a katakana word, then you even if that particular thing is of high value or highly priced culturally, then also we do not use o in front of katakana words. Now female speakers, so there is gender specific usage also seen in Japanese society. So female speakers use o more frequently than male speakers do, and some female speakers overuse it. For example, o beer. O beer. So beer is again a is borrowed from European language, right? So as per this statement, we need not use o in front of beer, but some ladies they use it. So in this textbook, if a word is commonly used both with and without o, the o is put in parentheses. So this we need to remember. So whenever we come across such a thing in this book, so we should recall this statement. Now the next topic of today is they, which is the location marker for action verbs. That means verbs which are having some kind of action, and to indicate where that action is taking place, which location, which place, we have to use the they particle, or which is popularly known as location marker. So both 1 and 2 below express the same location. For example, Toshokan. So what are these 1 and 2? The first one is Toshokan ni Nihon no Shinbun ga arimasu. You can see here Toshokan ni Nihon no Shinbun ga arimasu. That means there are Japanese newspapers in the library. So there is ni particle because Toshokan ni Nihon. So where do these newspapers exist? They exist in the library. So there you have to use the ni particle. But if you say Toshokan de Nihon no Shinbun o yomimasu, then it means I read Japanese newspapers in the library. So both, you can see both indicate in the library. So in that way, both should have been the same marker, right? If it is ni here, it should also have been ni, like Toshokan ni Nihon no Shinbun o yomimasu. But it's not that the case. So Toshokan is marked with ni in number 1, whereas it is marked with de in number 2. Why this is so? This variation is due to the different nature of the verbs arimas, imas, irashaimasu, which commonly denote states or existence. So they do not indicate any action, right? The newspapers are lying in the library, so it's not moving. There is no action happening on those newspapers, or those newspapers are not dancing by themselves, right? So they are just existing there. They are just lying over there. So that is one thing. Whereas aimas, aimas means to meet, shimas, which means to do, tabemas, which means to eat, nomimas, which means to drink, yomimas, which means to read. So all of these are some kind of activities, like there is some kind of movement in all of these. So when you express an activity or an event, you need to use they to indicate where it is taking place, to indicate its location, as in 3 and 4. Toshokan de benkyou sho shimasu. Toshokan de benkyou o shimasu. I study in the library. That is because study is an action. It is not existence. Similarly, eki de aimasu. We will meet at the station. Eki means railway station. So aimasu means we will meet. So where we will meet? At the station. De. Because we meeting is an action. So eki de aimasu. So this is the difference between ni and de particle when it comes to the location. Again, tsukue no ue ni hon ga arimasu. So here you are using ni because it is talking about only the existence of the book on the table. The book is not performing any action. So for those cases, that means for arimas, imas, irashaimas, we need to use ni as the location marker. And for action verbs, we need to use they for location marking. Okay, so this is they particle. Now there is another thing, instrument marker they. That means by means of. That means if you are doing something, how are you doing that something? So in that respect also we need to use they particle, and here it is no longer a location marker, but it's a instrument marker. So for example, Ishikawa sensei writes letters with a pen. So how do we say that in Japanese? Ishikawa sensei wa pen de tegami o kikimasu. Kakimasu, sorry. Tegami o kakimasu. So here you can see Ishikawa sensei wa pen de. That means with a pen. How he is writing a letter? He is writing with a pen. So pen de, tegami means letter, and kakimas means to write. This is the verb. So Ishikawa sensei wa pen de tegami o kakimasu. So Ishikawa sensei writes letters with a pen, or is writing a letter with a pen. So by means of a pen, this gives the meaning pen de kakimasu. means he is writing with a pen. He is writing by means of a pen. So here de gives the meaning of by means of. So there are a couple of examples here which will clarify. So this is hashi de tabemasu. That means I eat with chopsticks. Hashi is chopsticks. So hashi de tabemasu. How do you eat? I eat using chopsticks. So hashi de tabemasu. Next, Koyama-san writes letters in Japanese. Koyama-san wa nihongo de tegami o kakimasu. That means he writes using Japanese. He writes in Japanese. So here again, they will appear between Nihongo and Tegami o kakimasu. So Tegami, you may omit also because if you generally read Koyama-san writes in Japanese, then Koyama-san wa Nihongo de kakimasu. Then Tegami o will vanish because Tegami is the object. We no longer have the object. Next is Hikoki de Nihon e ikimasu. Hikoki means aeroplane. I am going to Japan. Nihon e ikimasu means I am going to Japan or I will go to Japan. I will go to Japan. Okay. So I go to Japan or I am going to Japan is Nihon e ikimasu. But how will you go? I will go by plane. So Hikoki de ikimasu. Hikoki de ikimasu. I will go by airplane. Similarly, this is a question now. Densha de Kyoto e ikimasu ka? Densha means train. Kyoto is the city and ikimasu ka. So someone is asking, are you going to Kyoto? And if you are going to Kyoto, are you going there by train? So this is by train, by means of train. So how are you going? Densha de ikimasu. Densha de ikimasu. If the answer is yes, then you will say hi. Densha de ikimasu. But here the answer is no. Ie kuruma de ikimasu. I will go by the car. So ie kuruma de Kyoto e ikimasu. I will go to Kyoto by car. So here also you will use the de particle. So one is the location marker, one is the instrument marker. That means how you are doing something. If you walk somewhere, you need aruite, which means by walking on foot. So see the question here. Do you come to the university by bike? That is bicycle. So how we will ask this question? Jitensha. Jitensha means bicycle. Jitensha de daigaku e kimasu ka? So here it is kimas. So one is ikimas, one is kimas. Ikimas means to go and kimas means to come. So since the question is do you come? So that's why here we have to use kimas and not ikimas. So densha de daigaku e kimasu ka? Do you come to the university by bike? So here de particle is used between densha and the coming to the school. Answer is ie. Aruite kimasu or aruite daigaku e kimasu. The answer is no. I come to the university on foot. No, I walk to the university. Aruite. So now aruite is a typical form of the verb aruku. Aruku or arukimasu. So if we talk about the mass form, then it is arukimasu. But in this case, we are not writing arukimasu. We are writing aruite kimasu. So this concept we will discuss later on. That means there are two verbs here, right? To come and one is to walk. So when there are two verbs in the same sentence, we cannot use mass form for both. We can use mass form only for the main verb. So this is how he is coming. He is coming by foot. So here we have to use the te form of the verb. So don't panic at this point of time by looking at this complicated thing. So this we will be discussing in a later chapter. This is just for your knowledge that this is if this verb would have been the main verb here, then it would have been arukimas. But here instead of arukimas, it will be aruite because already we have a mass form verb here kimas. So aruite kimas means I came walking. I come, I go walking, I come walking. So friends, that's all for today. I think I have overloaded you with too many things today. So we learned verb conjugation, pre-mass form. We learned about the object marker O. We learned about the beautifiers O and go. We talked about the de particle, one used as a location marker and one used as an instrument marker. And in the next lesson, we will continue with 4F, 4G and all these topics, and we will see how much we can cover in the next lecture. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any questions, you can put as a comment in the in this video itself, or if you want to contact me personally or privately, then you can do so by sending an email to me at saraljapani@gmail.com. Till we meet again, thanks for watching. Arigato gozaimasu. Mata imasho.